I believe that a lot of people run from like where they are. They run from who they are. But, you know, if you believe in the universe, if you believe in a higher power and the people that are around us that we need to be successful in our life, they're already there. Some of them are already maybe 20, 30 years old. Some of them may not have even been born yet. Some of them may be 8 or 9 years old, a classmate that you grew up with, and you didn't even know that this person was put here and put in your life to help you get to where you want to go. All right, so that's, I'm gonna get this trick away.
Give it a trick away.
Yeah, so to all the filmmakers out there, I'm giving y'all this one for free.
Welcome to the Haitian Podcast, ladies and gents. We got today a special guest with us. We got Michael McGowan, aka M. Dot.
Yeah.
The man is a producer. The man make movies. He's been into music and so on and so forth. As a matter of fact, I don't even think I can cover everything he covered. I'm gonna let him do it. What's up, Mike?
What's going on, man? How y'all doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you for showing to the podcast, man.
Happy to be here. Happy to be here.
I know you don't. I know you were very busy, man. You don't have a lot of time, so.
Yeah.
So let me start with this question. So where everything started, like, you know, what from the beginning?
Everything started in my mama's womb. I was born in San Francisco, California, in late '70s. So that was big in the crack pandemic in the '80s, and both my mom and my dad got caught up in that. And me and my sister were given up for adoption. Luckily, we got adopted by a blood relative of ours, my great aunt, my grandmother's sister. And she happened to live here in Lake Charles, Louisiana. So in 1985, me and my sister came here to Lake Charles, Louisiana. And, you know, spent most of my time here until my college days and went to McNeese State University. Was a member of Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity, and then I left and went to film school in Los Angeles in 2006.
Okay, so like I know before I came, I asked you this question, but what make you choose to make movies?
I've always been creative. If anybody here that knows me, they know me from I was in a band, played music, singing, dancing. You know, that was kind of always my thing. I was always a creative, outgoing person. I was in art. I painted. I drew. You know, so creative field was always my field of choice. But, you know, being here in Louisiana, you know, it's not a practical, you know, field to go into. Not a lot of people who are in that field that can give you advice and inspiration. So I kind of like put it on the back burner. And when I was in college, I met a teacher that was, at the time, he was one of the professors, Charles McNeely. He was over the theater department. And I told him about some of my dreams, some of my goals. He was like, I see it in you. You know, you got this spark in you. You got this light in you. You know, he would even joke. He was like your name, Michael McGowan. That sounds like a name of a director, of a producer, or somebody that's in that field. So he said, I think you should go. And my roommate at the time, I was living off campus. I was working with some exchange students. They were from Croatia.
Okay.
And one of them gave me this book called The Alchemist. And I read it in one night. I literally went home and I read it in one night. And at the end of that book, I decided that, you know what? I'm just going to follow my dreams. I'm going to follow my heart. And wherever it guides me, you know, that's where I'm going to go.
Well, that's a big risk to take, though. You know what I mean?
But I believe that it's one thing I believe. I believe that a lot of people run from like where they are. They run from who they are. But, you know, if you believe in the universe, if you believe in a higher power, just imagine it like a duck. are a fish, right? The universe, God isn't going to put a fish in the desert. He's going to put a fish in water,
Yeah.
right? Because he knows it needs to be in water to survive, right? And in that water is going to be specific things that that fish eats, and it's going to be things that it needs. The temperature where the water is going to be in a temperature that's going to keep the fish alive. So it's not just about putting the fish in water. It's about putting fish in water in the right place.
Yeah.
Because if you put the fish in water and somewhere hot, water going to boil, going to evaporate, fish going to die. Same thing about a duck. Same thing about any animal. Same thing with us. So where you born at or where you placed at in this universe and in this timeline is exactly where you need to be at in order for you to survive and strive and get to where you want to go. But most people, they're going to miss those things because they're going to get, I like what you were saying earlier about your heart, following your omens. They're going to let people tell them that, nah, that's not a good idea. No, you shouldn't do that. I see you as this. And we tend to go away from what we feel inside. And the people that are around us that we need to be successful in our life, they're already there. Some of them are already maybe 20, 30 years old. Some of them may not have even been born yet. Some of them may be 8 or 9 years old, a classmate that you grew up with, and you didn't even know that this person was put here and put in your life to help you get to where you want to go. So I've always believed in omens. I've always believed in that. So I didn't look at it as like a big risk. I looked at it as like, I need to get back to what it is that I'm supposed to be doing already. And it ended up actually manifesting itself because, I met a young guy, and one of my teachers in high school who lived on the same street with me, Ron Blanchard. Everybody knows him. They call him the running man. He runs around. He runs a lot of marathons, but he was my teacher in high school and was very inspiring to me. He would end up becoming a voice, of inspiration and encouragement, throughout my years. His nephew, Drew Blanchard, you should actually have him on the show. He's a great rapper, got a great story. And, we ended up doing things together. Logan Chapman, which is a friend of Drew Blanchard, was a producer. He's one of my partners now. All of my projects that I work on, he's half of what I do.
Okay.
He's the other half of the creative process. We work together. We're working on several shows right now. But all of these people were already here in Lake Charles. But because people had told me, you can't do this here. You got to go somewhere else. You need to go to LA. You need to go to Hollywood. So that's what I did. But then I ended up taking myself out of where I needed to be at, And I learned a lot there, being in LA. But I only ended up realizing that everything I needed to get to where I wanted to go was already there where I was,
So how is the process? So moving from Lake Charles, so how it goes when you get to California? How was that the beginning?
How did I get there?
No, how was it? How was it in the beginning when you get to California?
When I got there?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm from California originally.
Okay.
So it was really like going back home.
Okay.
But it was a lot faster pace in LA. Things were moving a lot faster. It wasn't yes ma'am, no sir, out there.
Yeah.
People were kind of straight and direct, so that took some time getting used to. And I had to get out of my own mind too, because there are a lot of things here that box us in, especially as African Americans.
Okay.
We tend to think of things from such a racial standpoint.
Yeah.
And we tend to box ourselves in because of that. And when I got to California, it's a real funny story. Well, it's not funny, but it's an interesting story. I was in California, and I had to go to New York. And I flew to New York, and I was in Times Square, and it was late. It was on a late night. And I was trying to get a taxi to go back to my hotel. And I couldn't get a taxi. you know. And so it was just none nowhere. And it was like everywhere I looked, there was either somebody in a taxi or, you know, they would cut their light off, you know, like end of the night, or they were going somewhere else. And the guy was like, you know, late night, you know, it's hard. A lot of these taxis don't like to pick up, you know, black people.
Damn.
And everything. And I was like, oh, really? He was like, yeah, you know, it's just like that sometimes. I was like, okay. So finally this African guy in his taxi pulls up, you know, and I get in this taxi and I'm like, man, thank you, brother. You know, I appreciate you picking me up. I've been having a hard time getting a taxi, and he's just driving. He's not even like responding to me. And I was like, you know, I said, man, you all right? You know, you good? And he was like, he wasn't responding to me. And I was like, hey, my brother, you good? And he looked in the rearview mirror and he said, I am not your brother. And I was like, man, that's kind of harsh. And he went on his American, you know, African American, y'all waste y'all time here. Y'all should be doing more. You know, us in Africa, you know, we come out here, we want to work hard, you know, American dream, opportunity, you know, all y'all want to do is, you know, be rappers and all of this kind of stuff. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, you know.
Damn.
So, you know, he drops me off, and I get back to LA, and I'm telling this story, and one of my Asian friends, he was like, yeah, I mean, that's the way it is. He's like, I'm Korean, and a lot of Japanese people don't like me. You know, a lot of Chinese people don't like Japanese people.
Yeah.
You know, and it just made me realize that it's always going to be something like that. It's always going to be people who are looking at people for the color of their skin. But then there are a lot of people who don't look at that at all, who just look at the character of a person.
Yeah.
You know, the spirit of a person, you know. I would rather deal with an honest man than a lying man. You know,
Yeah.
It's like it's always going to have people like that. It's going to look at you for who you are. And so I had to start saying to myself, I just need to be the best version of myself that I can be, you know, and let that speak for who I am. And if a person can't look past the color of my skin and see that, you know, then that's just what it is. But I'm not going to meet every situation thinking that somebody is looking at me
because y'all got what you're
because I'm
saying.
a certain color.
And I gotta touch up on that for a split second because we're not gonna. I'm me personally. I'm not trying to make this whole thing about racism, but me and him from Haiti, a third world country, like mostly black. Like I don't even think we got white people over there. We might have a few here and there, but for the most part, not that many. When I first got here, the whole idea of racism was just something that was just odd.
Right.
And it's kind of like, you've met me. You don't know nothing about me. Not my first name, not my last name, where I'm from, where all I'm about, but you just look at the color of my skin and you judge me for it. It just looked at that as if there was something that was just ridiculous.
Right.
But as time passes and I got a chance to live here for a bit longer, even though I still don't quite get it 100%, but I understand it. And
That's all they know.
Yeah, so they know, because I don't quite get it. Because, like, the guy didn't even know you at all. Like, you're a producer.
Right.
Like, you're making movies. You're making shows. You got a whole show on Amazon Prime. He did not know that. Like, he did not know your dreams, your inspiration, and so on and so forth. But he bought into the whole idea, black people, rappers, gangsters, go to jail, and so on and so forth. And then to that extent, and I can understand that, is because there's a lot of people that see things like that. Because like I tell people, the least thing you owe somebody is a conversation. And I'm not saying you should see somebody, you got to judge, like not judge a book by its cover, or perhaps judge it by its cover, however you may want to look at it. But if you're stuck in between, the least that you owe somebody is a conversation. And then once you do that, it's kind of like you got like a third sense, like a sixth sense per se, that picks up on what the man is saying, how he acts, to where you can be like, okay, character. I can trust this guy. Like you said, his character, I can trust this guy. But the whole idea of just standing from afar and look at somebody as their skin, that is the most, like, honestly, like I said, I genuinely don't get that thing to the fullest. I genuinely don't. But
I think it's the most. I don't think this is the most stupid thing if you ask me.
Like,
but I think.
Let's try not to make it about.
No, but not just. No, I want to add this too, because I think sometimes people, even like, you know, the guy was from Africa, looking at somebody outside looking in. You know, I think when you're looking at the system, the way the system built, like, I was the kids watching on TV. It's just rappers. It's just like they think they can make money like doing rappers. Oh, even when you ask black kids in school what they want to come, they always black kids. They're gonna tell you either like athlete or rapper.
And that's why I got segueing from that. See that omens. So that's why I got into making films, because I started my credentials is in screenwriting. I went to school to write scripts.
Yeah.
And then sell them to be made into movies. But you got to learn the industry, So my mentor, Bradford and Christine Forsyth Peters, Bradford used to tell me, you need to learn every job. You can't just write. You got to go and intern so that you can learn what the lighting is like, so you can see what directing is like, producing is like. You need to learn all of these things so that you can be able to get into the field and know exactly what you want and how to do it. So in the process of me interning, I get to intern on a casting call. And on a casting call, they give you these sheets that you got to go and then read from to learn. So they give you a couple pages of the script. They may pair you with somebody, they may not. But you sit in this room in front of these producers and, you'll go through the audition. But whenever you go for an audition, it'll have we have a single white female, single white male, African-American male, African-American female. And then they'll have what the character is and what the character description is. And I noticed in this casting call, all of the people that were in the cop car or in handcuffs or, that had these stereotypes, all of them had AF male or AF female or Hispanic male, Hispanic female. And so this is it's getting to me. As the day going on, it's getting to me. And so one of the producers, I was like, why does it matter? Why can't this soccer mom be a black woman? Why can't this doctor be a black man? Why can't this, police officer be a black man and the guy who he's arresting be a white man? Why does it matter? And she looked me straight in my face and she said the thing that changed my whole life. She said, you're right. They could be anything, but this is my movie. And if you want them to be anything else, go make your own movies.
Damn.
That's cold.
That's cold.
It wasn't cold. It was the truth.
I mean, it was the truth,
the truth.
But the whole idea that you was getting pissed off of, and that's what everything we see on TV, and it was a stereotype, like you said, even though he was her movie, but doesn't make it right though. He was kind of all messed up.
Yeah, but
it's not making.
It's not right or wrong. It's her movie. If she's putting the money up for it, she's making the movie. She has the right to make however she wants to, and that's what I had to learn. But what I realized in that process, it wasn't enough black men and women making content that showed us in a life. We hadn't reached the levels to where we could get $100 million, $50 million, $10 million to make enough content, and it started showing me we needed more Tyler Perrys.
Yeah.
We needed more, Byron Allens. We needed more, Oprah Winfrey's. We needed more people who were making the content and funding the content and getting their money so that we can put these images of ourselves on TV. We can't be mad at other people for making the money, what they want to make with their money. It's not a right or wrong thing, because at the end of the day, it's what? It's entertainment.
Yeah.
So that's what I looked at. So I was like, I need to go and I need to make stuff and I need to make content that is, I wouldn't say is black content, but I need to make content that highlights us in a better way than what it would, normalizing us in the ER room, normalizing us as the president, as even as simple as the pilot flying an airplane, in a movie. I mean, have you ever seen a black pilot, you know.
Man,
Except
in reality, I've never seen a black pilot.
Except Denzel Washington.
And the one that you did see,
it's the one that he messed up on.
Exactly.
He was fucked up on.
It was exactly.
God damn, he's not lying, bro.
And within this world, one thing I've realized, we got this stereotype per se kind of thing. As you said, the man going to jail just happened to be a black man. The men who's the pilot just happened to be the white man. The doctor just happened to be the white man, and so on and so forth. And that's one thing I've kind of noticed, because like you got to keep in mind, we're not from here. It's kind of like we got like a different vision of things. Exactly. It's kind of like we get to look at it from afar instead of from up close. And then, well, that's the thing that never made sense to me though. And like I told you, in reality, I've never met a black pilot, but I've met a lot of black, wonderful and intelligent people. Right. So therefore, it's kind of like it bears the question as of why those people that are actually doing it don't find a way to bring more highlight on themselves. And what I mean by highlight, we just met you. You're a black director, producer, and so on and so forth. And like you touched up on like the Tyler Perrys and so on and so forth. So the question is, what's stopping us as, I don't know, as people to find a way to shine the light on that, to where you can get away from that stereotype of if you're black, you got to be somebody going to jail. Like what's stopping us besides the few that we got? What's stopping us from being away, like for being in a way like able to show that's not true. Not all of us are just going in and out of jail. They got some that's doing great things.
We don't. That's why I say we need more Tyler Perrys. We need more people in power in a position in order for us to do that. We don't control the budgets. We don't control the money. You know, I could write a script, and everybody in the script could be another color, and it's still gonna get labeled as a black film because I'm doing it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we need more people in powerful places or in places to break those things. One thing I hear a lot in Hollywood, not so much now, but because a lot of things are opening up because of streaming and because of the internet, we have a lot more opportunity. But for the longest time, it was that, you know, African American films don't make no money. So we're not gonna put $50 million towards a film, you know, with an all-black cast or, you know, a black director and written by a black person. You know, it was a lot of that. You know, so I think because we didn't control, and we still don't control a lot of the budgets, we don't get to say a lot of who gets seen in a certain way. And when I hate to say it, but, you know, certain things sell, sex sells, you know, crime sells, all of these things, all these negative things, they sell. You know, people are very interested in seeing something, you know, a car crash. Oh, everybody's going to look, you know, it's a car crash. You know, it's a little girl on the side of the road with a lemonade stand, you know, people might drive right past it because we buy into that. So Hollywood, unfortunately, buys into a lot of that. So they end up perpetuating a lot of the stereotypes because that is what sells when it comes to certain groups, you know, certain things. It's like you don't want to, you know, I was in the music industry, worked on the studios, Sedona Studios for 9 years in LA. And, you know, we had direct contacts to a lot of the labels. They were looking for, you know, content. They were looking for music. And if I brought in a conscious rapper, somebody that was rapping about something that was, you know, inspirational, inspiring, a lot of times you could see their eyes glass over, you know. But if it was shoot them up, kill them, this and this and that, and, you know, they was into that because they were like, well, that's what sells. It's not that I'm into that, but it's like, but those other things do sell too. If you market them, they'll sell just as much as any other things sell.
I kind of have a question. It felt like now as you were talking, I was just thinking about it. And you're right. The action movies, those love movies or whatever, they sell a whole lot better than like a black movie. But the thing is, when I'm thinking about quote unquote a black movie, we can talk about Friday. Mm-hmm. Everybody has seen Friday.
Right.
It was a low budget movie about black people being black.
Right.
So in your professional opinion, what made a movie like that so iconic?
Lightning in a bottle, just going back on, you know, what I said about, you know, people being where they need to be in the right time. You know, all of those people, if you look at them, I mean, Ice Cube was just getting into doing movies and had, you know, and Chris Tucker was nobody really knew him. You know, you had Witherspoon, and, you know, he was a comedian that was kind of in the latter part of his career. He wasn't demanding a bunch of money. You know, if you go back and look at that film, everybody that was involved in that film were young, new, up-and-coming people. And it was just Ice Cube had the situation. You know, he had people that was willing to distribute something from him, and they do have a market, obviously, for black films. So it's like, hey, you know, give me something, let me see what I can do with it. And he gave him Friday. So it was just kind of like everything just kind of lined up where it needed to line up, when it needed to line up, and that's how that happened. And now if you look at all of those people, you know, they're all doing something. You know, big, Witherspoon, rest in peace. But, you know, all of those people are doing great things now. And I just think that was just the thing. They all lined up in the right place at the right time, and they were all talented, you know. I think that's what.
I got a question for you. So I know, like, when you get to LA, when I go way back. So what was the first project you worked on as a producer?
As a producer? Or as just period?
Just period.
Just period.
Okay, so when I got the Diversity Award, very first time I went to LA, to Hollywood, going back on the omens, when you know that you're doing the right thing. So I got the award, and they were like, hey, you know, the award show is in LA, so it'd be great if you could come out here, you know, for the award show. So, you know, I didn't have much money, but the money that I did have, you know, I had enough for a plane ticket, you know, and then I had a sponsor for my hotel room, and they was like, oh, you need a tuxedo too, you know, so I got a tuxedo.
Okay, I ain't got no money for all that.
Exactly. So, but I ended up, you know, grace of God, ended up getting all of those things, and I went out to LA. I didn't know anything about this award show, where it was going to be, who was going to be there, anything. I was just excited just to be going to LA, you know. So I get there, and I'm in my hotels that they give me is in Beverly Hills. And I'm like, oh man, I'm first time in LA. I'm in a hotel in Beverly Hills. And I was like, where is this award show? And it was like, it's at the Beverly Hills Hilton. And I had remembered the Beverly Hills Hilton from movies that I had seen. It was an iconic hotel. So I was like, well, how am I get there? And it was like, oh, we're gonna have a car come and pick you up. We're gonna bring you up there. So, you know, I'm in the lobby, got on this tuxedo, and this black chauffeur car drives up. I'm thinking I'm looking for a taxi or something, you know, a shuttle bus to bring me up there. This chauffeur car come pick me up, and I get into this car. He's driving me to the hotel, and at the time I didn't know it was the Beverly Hills Hotel. So I'm driving and I'm looking. I'm like, man, that looks like the Beverly Hills Hilton. He was like, yeah, that's where the award show is at. So we're driving up, and as we're driving up, I see all these flash bulbs going off. And I'm like, man, this is like big time. And as I look and I'm looking, I'm like, man, that's Michael Clark Duncan. Wow, that's Jamie Foxx. Wow, that's this person. They're all on this red carpet. And I'm thinking, like, where is he parking so that I can get out, walk over there? And no, we're in this line to get up there. So we get up there, open up the door, and I get out, and it's all these flash bulbs going off. And there's these ladies like, Michael McGowan, like, yes, like, you know, come here. And it was like, how does it feel to be here as a diversity award recipient, blah, 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 blah. She got this mic in my face, and I'm looking around, and I'm just like, God, wow. I'm first time in LA, I'm on the red carpet, and I'm surrounded by all these celebrities. It's my very first time here. And so I'm like, wow, first omen. So during this award show, they have this intermission where we go out, and they have drinks and everything from everybody. And while we were in there and we were sitting there, Michael Clark Duncan table was like directly across from me, and we can like see each other. And I literally was the only young black guy sitting at this table and in a room full of just all these other people. And he just keep looking at me. And I was like, is he looking at me? So during the intermission, he's talking to some people. And he looks over at me, and then after he gets done talking to him, he says, you know, does like that, like, come here. And I go over there, and he's like 8 feet tall, damn near, big old man, and I'm a little bitty guy. And And he leans down to me and he said, if you wasn't meant to be here, you wouldn't be here. And I'm looking at him, and he said, you look like you feel like you don't supposed to be here. He said, act like you're supposed to be here. You're supposed to be here. And I was like, you're right. He said, when I first got here, I lived in a roach motel. He said, literally, it was a roach motel. They had roaches in there, for real. And he said, and I was auditioning. I wasn't getting anything. And he said, and then one day, I go to this audition, and Tom Hanks is in the room. And I do this audition, and before I leave, Tom Hanks tells me, like, you got this, bro. You got this role. And that was the Green Mile. And he said, and my career just took off from there. He said, so it's not if, it's when. He said, but you here now. He said, so act like you're supposed to be here. He gave me his information. He said, if you ever need me, need anything, give me a holler. Rest in peace. He passed away, recently. But, he was truly like a real friend, and really gave me a lot of inspiration and a lot of advice, along the way. So when he passed away, that really hit me, kind of hard. But being at that award show, that, made me feel like, I was in the right place, and I was supposed to be there. And so that kind of pushed me to continue to look for jobs and everything. So we had the next day after this award show, they invited us to Paramount Pictures for a dinner that they were doing on the lot. So we get there, and it's dark, nobody's there, nobody's walking around, but they got this one case, and it's lit up, and there's all these Oscars in it. And I walked up to the Oscar, and I believe in speaking positivity into and manifesting things through my words. So I stand in front of this case, and I say, one day I'm gonna be working here. I'm gonna be working here at Paramount Pictures, and one day I'm gonna win an Oscar. And I actually have 2 tattoos of Oscars on my back, one on this side and one on this side.
Yeah, that's powerful.
And I'm like, I'm gonna win one, and I'm gonna be working here. And so I started applying for internships left and right. I'm just anything, if it said intern next to it, I'm applying. But when you apply for internships in LA, in Hollywood, they don't list a lot of times where the internship is at. They might just tell an address. They might just say a production company. So I applied for this internship at CFP Production Company. Remember, like it was yesterday, and it just had the address, and it was on Melrose. So guy calls me. We're still friends today. He calls me and say, hey, you're still interested in this internship? I was like, yeah. He said, well, come up here to the address listed. When you get up to the gate, they'll have your information, get a pass, come back to this office, and, we'll give you another interview. So I'm driving, when I get there, it's Paramount Pictures, the place where I had told myself I was going to be back to. So I go in there, we talk, say, you got the job, just come back tomorrow.
How was that feeling?
It was great. It was great. So, I'm working my way up, and then finally they started giving me scripts to analyze and read, and find good scripts for them to produce. And one of the ones was Friday Night Knitting Club. We were trying to produce this film, and I had read a couple other ones, but I had got to the point to where they started giving me a pass to go and eat in the executive lunchroom, right? Mm-hmm. And that's where, like, at the time on the lot, they had Everybody Hates Chris, so you're going in there, and, Chris Rock was there. Funny thing, Chris Rock used to drive this little cart around, and one time he saw me, and he stopped, he pulls over, he's like, yeah, he said, man, there ain't got many of us looking here. And then he just drove off, right? And I thought that was funny. And he just drove off. And so I'm going to this executive lunchroom for the first time. And when I'm walking there, I'm getting ready to walk in, and guess what's right there in front of the executive lunchroom? That case that I had stood in front of, that was the case right there in front of the executive lunchroom. And another omen. It was like, you're where you're supposed to be at, just keep at it. So I learned real quick And this is something that a lot of young people need to understand. It's like, yes, ma'am, and no, sir, that can take you a long way, man. Especially once you leave from here. It's like people are not used to that.
Yeah, yeah.
So when I was in LA, I was always, yes, ma'am, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, sir. And I was a Kappa, so I had a lot of fly clothes, you know. So I'm going every day. I'm in bow ties. I'm in, you know, suspenders. I'm in slacks. And I'm just an intern. But I'm looking like, you know, $1 million.
Yeah.
You know, this guy come in every day. I'm coming early. You know, I'm there. I'm putting the coffee on. You know, I'm cutting on the lights. I'm leaving, and at the end of the day, I'm pouring the coffee out. I'm cutting off the lights every day. That's what I'm doing. And so one day, Bradford was like, you know, hey man, you know, we did How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. With Matthew McConaughey and Kate Hudson.
Yeah,
So
I know that movie.
That movie did like $120-something million or something like that. It was crazy number they did. And they were like, you know, Paramount, you know, want more movies from us, you know, so read scripts. So I'm reading. And, you know, Christine just wasn't happy with none of the scripts that they were having. She wanted another How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. She wanted that because that was what expected of her. She didn't want to go do something and it flopped in the theaters, whatever. So, you know, we're trying to find our script. We can't find one. And then one day, Bradford calls me into his office and he says, you know, what are you here for? Like, why you here? You here every day. You late, you early, you leaving late. You know, you coming looking good. You know, yes, ma'am, and no, sir. And I told you 10 times, you don't got to call me sir. You know, but what is it that you want to do? I was like, I want to make movies. He was like, man, get the hell out of here. You came all the way from Louisiana to Hollywood because you wanted to make movies. He said, nah, you can make a movie. You could have stayed there and made a movie. You got a camera. You got a camcorder. Like, yeah, you got some friends. Yeah, y'all got a house, a location. Yeah, okay, you right. That's what your degree is in, right? Yeah, well, you could have wrote a script, go there and make movie. Ain't nothing stop you from doing that. He said, you want to make movies that make money. That's why you here. You're here to make movies that make money. I'm going to show you. You got a choice right now. You can continue to work here and read scripts and try to work your way out. Or I can tell you how to make movies that make money, but you can't work here no more.
Damn.
That's a very difficult choice. It's like you're telling me to abandon the check to go figure it out.
Right. He said, but I can give you the formula right here, right now, and you could go off and make movies and make money. And I was like, okay, what's your choice? He said, you want to get a drink? We can sit a drink and smoke a cigar before you make the decision. So I'm sitting there.
Yeah, that's messed up, man.
I'm drinking, but this is the best thing that ever happened to me. I want to know how to make movies and make money. He said, all right, so you see that stack of contracts over there? It's a stack of contracts probably about this tall, sitting over in the corner. He said, that's producer contracts, that's writing contracts, that's location contracts, that's contracts for talent, that's contracts, it's all the contracts that I need are right there. And all those contracts got people's names on them, right? He said, if you walked into a room with an idea and all you walked in there is with you and your idea in front of somebody with a bunch of money, what you think the likelihood that they're gonna say yes to you? He said, it's gonna be slim because you're coming by yourself. He said, but if you walk in a room and you say, I got an idea and all of these people believe in this idea, you got a way better chance of getting the funding that you need. He said, how much money have you ever had in your hands physically? Ever had? And I said, shoot, like $14,000. He said, so $14,000. He said, so go make a $14,000 movie. He said, the reason why I'm saying $14,000 is because how much do you think you need to make a movie? He said, I already know the number you're going to say. He said, you're going to say $1 million because that's what all of you young people are walking around here saying, I need $1 million to make a film. And he said, trust me, they got a dummy out there somewhere that if you talk slick enough and you hone your pitch enough, will give you $1 million to make a film. But you'll probably never make another film because you're going to fuck that money up. You're going to make a horrible movie. It ain't going to make no money. It ain't going to get no distribution. It ain't going to be a Friday, I can guarantee you, you know, and you'll never get another film. He said, but you're going to make 10 films. That's what I challenge you to do. You're going to make 10 films. And by the time you make the 10th one, you're going to have made enough money to cover losses on all the 9 that you made. He said, never know. Your first one might be the one. Boom. Might be the Friday. Might blow up, make $50 million. But if it don't, you only lost $14,000.
That's true.
He said, the next one you go in, how much money you made 14, make another $14,000 movie again. You know, might get lucky and make $28,000. He said, now your next film, do that one for $28,000. And then go out, you might not make no money on that one. Then you go and make another movie. You might make $100,000. Then make your next movie for $100,000. He said, but you keep doing that, and you're gonna get better and better. And you're gonna learn more. You're gonna learn more. And by the time you get to right where everything lines up, that's when you're gonna make something, and it's gonna be a classic. It's gonna be something that people are gonna enjoy to watch. It's gonna be something that look back on and be like, I'm happy. He said, because if you look at, what's your favorite director?
James Cameron.
Okay, James Cameron. Yeah. What's James Cameron's first movie?
Was it Titanic? I don't know.
I don't know his first
I'm
movie.
not
I know my favorite one.
I'm not talking about Titanic.
I know my favorite one.
I know your favorite one. I'm talking about when he picked up the camera for the first time and decided to make it.
Probably something nobody never heard of.
Exactly. Steven Spielberg, what's his first movie?
Who knows?
What's Tyler Perry's first movie?
Who knows?
Right?
You just see the end right now.
Exactly. You only seen when they got to where then they got good. That's when you started seeing them. So it's the same thing with me. It's like, I don't care if nobody liked my movie. I only care that you watched it. That's it. No director cares about that if you're trying to make movies that make money. I'm not making art. I'm trying to make movies that make money.
Okay.
So if you watched it, that means you paid to see it. If you paid to see it, then I did my job.
Okay.
Now, I do want to get to a point to where I'm making movies that people enjoy. Everybody wants to do that, as the art side of me wants to do that. But the person who's running a business and building an empire and what I'm doing, it's like I have to understand there's a difference between the art and the business. And I go about it differently. If I'm doing something that's just an art piece for me, you know, like for instance, y'all seen Coming Up from the Ashes.
Yeah.
Right? That was just art. I didn't make that to make any money. I funded that myself. I put that out. I just felt like my city was being ignored. I felt like that, again, things lined up in a way that just put us on the back burner. You had the presidential election going on at that time. You know, it was just a lot of things that were overshadowing this horrible situation that we're in, and we just wasn't getting enough airtime. So people, when I was home, because my parents' home had got destroyed, people were like, hey, Michael, you a film director, man. Do something. You know, make something. Put us out there. So I got with my partner and friend, Logan. I was like, he had never done anything like this. But I was like, I can teach you. If you want to do it, we're going to do it. And my number one rule with making a film is once we start the process, we finish the process.
Okay.
Because a lot of film creators, a lot of film directors, they walk around and they say they're film directors and they say they're producers and they ain't produced nothing. They haven't directed anything. Because you're not a director until you have what? Directed something.
Yes.
Directed is a completed thing.
Yeah.
If I've stopped halfway through the process, I didn't finish, I'm not a director, right? Yeah. So I was like, you know, we gotta finish it. But I'm gonna show you how to finish it. And we went out and we made that. And the money that came from it, we used it, we donated it, you know, to people who were in need, you know. So that's what that was for. So that was an art thing. But then on the business side, I know like when I'm doing something for business, it's just marketing. You know, you go to a restaurant and you buy a steak. If you don't like the steak, what do?
Not coming back, probably.
No, you're going to tell the people you don't like it. Yeah. You're going to send it back. And they're going to cook you something else. Or they're going to offer you something else. Or they're going to say, I'll take it off the bill, no problem. Right? tell me when you don't like a movie, when you go to the movie theater and you pay that $15, $20, whatever you pay, and you sit down and you leave and you don't like the movie, what do you get back?
Nothing.
Nothing. That $15 gone.
Exactly,
$10
because
gone.
it's the experience. It's time. It's movies are just for past time. It's to take us away from our life and past that 30 minutes, that hour and a half, to where for that hour and a half, you're not thinking about your kids, you're not thinking about your job, you're not thinking about any of these things. You're just engaged in this movie for an hour and a half. Whether you like it or not, you feel like you got something because it took me away from my reality for a minute. So that's what we do as filmmakers. We're creating those time capsules where you're away from everything for a period of time. Now, some of them are good, some of them are not good, but that's really not what you're paying for. You know, that's what you would like to happen. And that's why when you leave a movie theater and you don't like a movie, or you watch a movie on TV, you don't call Netflix and say, hey, I watched 8 movies today and I didn't like none of them.
No, man, they still gonna take that $20 a month.
They're still gonna take that. So that's the business. So, you know, I've had people hurt people. You know?
That's true.
You know, and I've had people who have to hurt me, have told me like stuff like, well, that's why your movies suck. You know. And I'm like,
well, you paid for it. You watched it. I win.
But you watched it. You paid to see it.
For you to say it sucks, you had to watch it.
You had to watch it. So I'm like, thank you. Cool. And I'm okay with it because I'm only getting better and better and better. If you go back and look at my first movie, Reservation, and you look at my latest thing that I have now, it's like they're night and day. They're night and day.
They got the How to Love a Gig.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you a question about that. Like, clearly you done made it big time. You was just playing golf with Jamie Foxx and everything. I'm just exaggerating. But what made you decide to come back home to make something about home?
I didn't come back home to make that. You mean the movie?
Because I saw the trailer and I knew you.
So in the conversation with Bradford, he said to me, okay, so after he gave me the formula, he said, so you're a small fish in a very big pond out here, right? Life is about nepotism. Everywhere we go, it's nepotism. You know, like a lot of people got a problem with LeBron James trying to, you know, get his son into the league and everything. But who wouldn't do something like that if they had the opportunity to do that? You'd be stupid not to do something like that. So nepotism has always been a thing, and the people who don't like it are the people who can't use it to their advantage, basically.
You know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody.
Right.
Yeah.
So he was like, here you don't know nobody. He said, but I'm sure unless you're running from the law, you know, unless you done ruined your name in Louisiana, I'm pretty sure you know a lot more people and I have a lot more resources in Louisiana than you have here. He said, so take these big ideas and go do them in Louisiana. They'll support the people there. They love you. They'll support you. They'll get behind it. He said, in the beginning, they probably won't. He said, because if you go back to Haiti, right? Let's say this podcast blows up. And it's one of the biggest podcasts in the country. If you go back to Haiti, nobody's going to know you for this podcast. They're going to know you for who they know you are. You as.
Where you came from, they can relate to an extent. It's one of our own type of feeling.
Exactly. You know, but they're going to know you from the young guy you were back then.
Yes.
You know, how you grew up. People won't let you be who you are. They're going to try to keep you from what they know you as. Yeah. But the more you do this podcast, the more they see you doing it, you're going to start seeing people being like, hey, yeah, the podcast guys.
Yeah.
So he was like, so go home and do it, keep doing it, stick to it, and eventually they'll respect you as the film guy. And they'll start coming to you as like, this is our film guy. He's from Lake Charles. He makes movies in Lake Charles. That's our guy, you know? And so that's what I did. You know, I'm like, well, I'm going to go to Louisiana and Lake Charles specifically, and I'm going to highlight our culture. I'm going to highlight our people. I'm going to highlight, you know, our spirit. I'm going to highlight all of these things. You know, I'm going to put us on the map that way. So that was his advice to me. And he said, when you go and you do it in Louisiana, Hollywood is going to come get you from Louisiana.
Yeah,
They're not going to come get you from LA. You're just going to happen to be here already. And then they're going to be like, hey, that guy that's making those movies in Lake Charles, Louisiana, how do we get in touch with him? Well, he lives in Monrovia. He's here in LA. And then that'll work that way. And it has. It's like as we have grown, I've got to work with some big people, and my business partner, Taja V. Simpson, she is from here too, and she's doing a lot of great things. So we decided just to get together, and I had to picture on Lake Charles, like, hey, we need to do this in Lake Charles. So I knew the mayor at the time. It was Randy Roach. That's how I came to Randy Roach and got a meeting with him. And I sat down in his office, and I'm like, I would never be able to sit down in the office of the mayor of Los Angeles, or let alone get in a meeting with him. And I said, hey, Randy, I did a movie in LA, and I spent $78,000 doing this movie. And the movie took us 14 days to do this movie. I'm going to do a $156,000 movie, and I'm going to do it in 28 days, and I'm going to do it in Lake Charles. How do you feel about me coming to Lake Charles and spending 28 and spending $100,000 here in Lake Charles in 28 days? He was like, hell yeah. I want that, because why?
He knows you. You're from here. You're like one of our own. Like
and
I said,
it's money into the economy.
Yeah.
So I was giving him something that he wanted, and in exchange, he was like, okay, well, what can we do, to help you make this happen? So I was like, I need resources. He was like, okay, well, we got this, we got that, we got this. Hey, go to the city council and talk to John Ayu, city council president over there, and have them write a resolution for you that we support you. The city supports your efforts to do this film here. And then take this resolution around to businesses that you need help from, and show them this resolution, and tell them like, hey, the city is behind this, we're doing this. And everybody opened their doors. People opened up their doors. I mean, of all races, black, white, green, yellow, everybody was, hey, Mike, you need this, you need that, you need this. Next thing I know, I'm flying around in helicopters, getting shots during the golden hour. And I'm thinking to myself, this guy only charged me gas.
That's the beauty of it, though.
To do it. He charged me gas.
That's the beauty of it.
That was a good advice. When I think about
it, like you said, that was some great advice. And that's the beauty when you have a mentor. And like, especially when you're somebody that has a dream, you're young, you don't quite know what to do with it.
Right.
And then yet, somehow, somewhere, like you were saying, the right place at the right time, you end up meeting somebody that instill that advice within you, that pretty much direct you into the right path.
Right.
And like you said, you came here and you saw it. Like you said, he was in a helicopter, the guy only charged you gas.
Right.
That's unheard of.
Exactly.
And then if you was in Hollywood, it'd be a whole
$15,000 for an hour.
Exactly.
That's how much it was, And I'm using city buildings for free, right?
Yeah, I know.
They let me use the Civic Center for free. All of this stuff that they were giving me. You need to shut down the street. Okay. They called a police officer, shut down the street for me so we could do a scene.
Yeah.
It was just all of these resources. And so that's when the light went off in my head, going back on what I said earlier, where I had left Lake Charles because I felt like I needed to go do it somewhere else because I couldn't do it here. But not realizing God had already put me where I needed to be at to accomplish all of these goals that I had. And all of the people were already in place for me to do these things. So, so that was the reason why, I decided to do films here. And that was the reason why I just started to do How to Love a Geek here, because I wanted it to be an example of what I was doing. And then Randy retires, Nick Hunter becomes the mayor. And so during the hurricane, when I had made, when I was making the documentary, because I was already known as a filmmaker, I was able now to make these phone calls and say, hey, I'm doing a film. It's on the hurricane. It's a documentary coming up from the ashes. I need to talk to the sheriff. I need to talk to the person from Homeland Security. I need to talk to the mayor. I need to talk to all of these people to interview them. And so Nick graciously, He was like, I'll do whatever you need me to do, And so we met a few times. But in the process of me meeting him, I started explaining to him, like, look, Louisiana is the third largest producer of films in the country. It's LA, it's New York, and at the time, it was Louisiana. It was number 3. Right now, Georgia and Louisiana probably going back and forth. But it was because we were offering these amazing tax credits to do films here. And so New Orleans was in on it. Baton Rouge was in on it. Even Shreveport at the time was in on it. But Lake Charles wasn't. And I'm like, we're missing out on so much money, by not having film productions done here. So we need to build an infrastructure. We need to do some training. We need to create training programs for these kids. We need to build a studio here. I felt if you build it, they'll come. Because of how cheap it is, because of the resources that you have here, just the food alone, will get people to come out here. So he bought into it. He was like, I think, let's talk about that. Let's look at that some more. So when the documentary came out, I really tried to show him in a good light, that he was doing a lot, behind the scenes. I was getting to see, a lot of people like to talk about, nobody's ever going to be happy with, who's in office. You're always going to have some people that like him, people that don't like him, for good reasons or not good reasons. But being able to see behind the scenes and see the phone calls and see some of the things that he was doing, I gained a little bit more respect for him. And then down the line, when this documentary came out, it ended up coming out on Tubi, coming out on Hulu, Apple TV, Amazon Prime. So it's being seen everywhere. The documentary got seen by 6 million people.
Wow. Wow.
And that helped in a way to help get people in Congress and people to help get some money here. And so when we, started getting this money, some of the money was earmarked for certain types of economic development in certain areas of town and everything. So I get a call from Nick personally. He was like, hey, are you still interested in building the studio out here in Lake Charles? There may be some opportunities, for funding, to do those things. No promises, can't make any promises to you, but, get all your stuff together, get you some funding, get some things going, and maybe we can help push you along the way to make this happen. So, if you go to Simpson and McGowanStudios.com, you can see some of the plans that we have here for the area to build the studio. And so, that's why Lake Charles has always been for us the place where we feel like if it ain't gonna happen here, it's not gonna happen.
But I gotta ask you this, Mike. After listening to your story right now, and I feel like you're like an icon and a pioneer within your own right. And the only reason I'm saying that, I remember when I was going to college, I met this guy who was kind of like, I forgot his major, but I believe he was like into animation or something of that sort. And he was telling me how he wanted to make cartoons and movies, and then the fact that I'm into anime and that type of stuff, we kind of clicked up into that sense. And I want to say, and of course I graduated, he graduated, and never seen each other or whatever. And I saw him, I want to say about 2 years ago, but he was working at the movie theater. And I remember that broke my heart. And I was like, man, the guy never really got to do what he really dreamt of. And I feel like, as far as for you, like I said, you're a pioneer, someone that kind of listened to their heart and just went out there with no fear and made it happen. And then you went out there to L.A., and whatever bit of experience you've gathered, you brought it back home to where it's kind of like you leading the whole thing to, like you said, you got a chance to sit back, come back and sit down with the mayor and stuff like that. What advice would you have for someone that has a passion for something that's not really a big deal within the area, as far as what to do, how to go about it? Like, as you had a mentor that pretty much direct you in the right path, how would you direct that person into the right path?
The first thing I would tell them is, every day your feet touch the floor, you have to manifest it. You have to tell yourself first, repeatedly. You have to call, from the universe, from God, from whatever you believe. You have to call those things into existence. I feel that everything around us conspires for your good. I don't feel like it conspires against you. I feel like the universe, God, everybody wants to see you be the best version of yourself, but you got to call it into existence. And then you got to listen. You got to listen for it. You got to open yourself up to it. You know, a lot of people get closed off in their beliefs because, like you said, before we started the podcast, somebody told them, nah, that's not going to work, you know? So I'm not saying that you don't need to tell your dreams to people, but telling your dreams to people a lot of times is not going to do you any good.
Man, I agree.
The things that are important to you, you should keep close to you. It should be very few people that you're sharing those things to, because you don't know who's going to try to keep you from achieving those things, right?
Yeah.
So I would tell them that, you know, lock in what it is that you believe in and keep it to yourself, and then listen to the universe, listen to God, listen to and speak to you. And he'll tell you, like, you know, who you're supposed to go, where you're supposed to go. Like this podcast. I wasn't avoiding coming to this podcast. It wasn't that, you know, I'm busy. I got things I'm going to do. I know you were persistent. You called a few times like, hey, you know, we're going to do this podcast. You want to come? We would like you to be a guest, you know, and Donnie told me about it. You know, he said, man, it's a great Experience. And he said, Mike, go. And I'm like, I know Donnie. I trust Donnie. He's a really great guy. But I'm listening, and nothing was telling me go to the podcast. And I'm like, okay, I'm thinking about it. I mean, I got a lot of stuff to do. I got edits to do. I got to get done. I mean, these few hours that I'm going to go do this, I really do need this time. But it wasn't until my cousin Tammy, she sees me at my cousin's graduation party, and she says, man, small world, guess who I ran into? I was like, who? She said, you know the guy that asked you to be on the podcast? He's like, yeah, I used to work with him. Really good guy, really good friend, you know, and the look that she had on her face about you guys. I'm like, you know what? I text you, and I'm gonna do the podcast because I'm listening. And because I had already put out there, speak to me, tell me, guide me. Again, God, like I say, the universe, it conspires for you. So it's like, oh, you need an answer to that? I'll give you the answer. Here's your answer, you know? So that's how I'm here. So I tell people, if you get out of your way, cleanse your heart, cleanse your spirit, and listen, it'll guide you to the people and to the things that you need to do. And you have to truly believe. And a lot of young people, a lot of people in general, when it comes to their dreams, they believe when everything is good. Like,
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, when it makes sense, then they want to go for it. When it makes sense,
that's
when they believe. But when it don't make sense, when the bills ain't getting paid, when nobody's ringing your phone, when you put something out and it get received well, that's when they start being like, you know what? Maybe I'm in the wrong thing. No, that's when you need to believe the most. That's when you really need to believe. Like, people don't realize that when I left Louisiana to move to LA, I was sleeping on the floor in one of my frat brothers' house. I was walking to work in the heat, working a job, then going to intern. I was writing all day long, just writing, didn't really know. I get an opportunity to go to Baltimore at the time when the TV show The Wire had came out.
Yeah.
Well, at the time, The Wire was looking for a lot of African Americans to work on the show because they wanted it to be authentic. So I'm like, well, shoot, I'm just gonna go to Baltimore, you know, and I'm just gonna get an internship out there as a PA, being on set or walking around. I get out there, I don't know nobody out there, but then my mom, because I was adopted, but I was still in contact with my biological mother. Not my father, but my mother. And my mother had a brother who was an artist, Morgan Monceau. He has artwork in the Smithsonian and the art galleries, all over the country. And he was living in Baltimore at the time. So we didn't really have a relationship because I didn't really grow up with him. But, I contacted him and say, hey, they got this TV show out there, The Wire. I want to come out there, and I want to see if I can get on as an intern out there for The Wire. And you mind if I come and stay with you? He was like, yeah, you can come stay with me. I get out there. The day I get out there, I'm walking through the airport, and on the news, they're talking about how bad the weather is about to get in Baltimore. And they were like, it's gotta be 100-year snowstorm. It's in winter. About to be 100-year snowstorm, unheard of. I'm out there, I'm coming from the West Coast.
Oh, you're not used to that.
I jacket, right? I'm in short sleeve shirt, I'm just chilling. So, okay. So I get in this taxi. He takes me to my uncle's place. He's downtown, and he's in this building. It's like an artist loft. And it's all these starving artists that are in this building that this man owned, but he's letting them stay in it for free. Like they got like a bathroom on one floor, and they're all sharing like stuff. And it's like a textile building where, I don't know, back in the day, they used to make these long buildings, and they have sewing machines in these buildings all the way down, and they would sew the clothes and everything. And so he was living in one of these, and the front door is on this end, and it broke into pieces for people to live in. And he's living like in this one area, and I'm like, I'm coming from a place where I had a bedroom and everything, and it's just unusual to me. And that night I'm laying in the bed and I'm sleeping, and behind my wall I just start hearing water. It's freezing cold outside. It's snow everywhere. I just start hearing water. Like, what the hell? And the police fire truck comes. We get a bang on the door. He was like, everybody got to evacuate the building. The water main broke. It's flooding out the basement. The electricity and the electrical stuff is all in the basement. We need everybody out now. So we out in the street, standing there. He puts a big sign on the door, condemned.
Damn.
I'm like, I didn't even know what condemned means. I'm like, what's that mean? It's like, we can't go back in there. So my uncle's looking around. He don't got a lot of money. I don't got a lot of money. And next thing I know, man, we in his van, sleeping in the van, and he got to turn the van on to heat the car up and then turn it off because he ain't got no money to put no gas in and stuff. And I'm laying back there and I'm like, what the hell did I do? What am I doing out here? And I was like, that's when my heart spoke to me. You're following your dreams. Like, nobody said it was gonna be easy. Nobody said you was gonna come out here and get this internship, and be working on The Wire and everything was gonna be good. It's like, but you're here for a reason. So the next morning, open up this van and it's snow everywhere. I'm talking about 3-4 feet of snow. It's so much snow. I'm living downtown. It's so much snow. People are skiing to work.
Oh no.
Literally. They're on skis going to work. And so something in me said, you gonna sit here and you gonna cry about it, or you gonna get out there and figure it out. You need a job, because I ain't have a job. So I asked my uncle, you got a coat? He gives me this big old coat. I get some boots on, and I start walking around. And I walk into the hotel, the Wyndham, and they got this guy in there, Stephen Golly. And I'm looking around. He said, how can I help you? I said, man, I'm looking for HR. I'm looking for a job. He said, you looking for a job right now? In the dead of winter with all this going on? And he's like, I said, yeah. He looked at me, he said, man, you know what? My employees can't come in. So we got people that are staying here in the hotel to help keep the hotel open for our guests. I just need somebody to stand right here and greet people that coming out of this restaurant or going in the restaurant so I can go and check on other things in the hotel. I don't have nobody. He said, you think you could do that? And I was like, yeah, I could do that. So he said, okay, let's go downstairs. I'm going to give you something to put on. So he gave me some black pants, a white shirt. I'm standing there like a little butler, and I'm You know, hey, how you doing? You know, you need a table for two? Yeah, I sit them down and everything. And so when the storm cleared and everything, he gave me a room in the hotel. So see how I'm saying how it worked? I had nowhere to sleep that night. Except in a van.
Yeah, you want to go back to that van?
I didn't want to go back to the van. He gave me a room in the hotel. He said, because I need, and it wasn't like, do you need somewhere to stay? He was like, we need people to stay in the hotel, you know.
Wow, you see how it works? That's crazy.
Oh,
that's
man.
crazy.
Like sometimes the whole thing just add up perfectly.
So boom, I get the job. I'm staying in the hotel. Tell my uncle, hey man, you want to come stay over here? Stay with me. So he comes and I'm working. After the storm clears, he says, hey, you know, I can give you a full-time job if you want this full-time job. So I end up getting this full-time job, go back, I'm dressed fly and everything. He got me wearing this, it was funny because I called it my, I can't remember what I called it, butler. I say, man, I ain't no butler, man. I say, you know, I feel like I'm working back in the day, you know, serving master and stuff. I'm like, I don't want to do that. I'm like, I want to come in looking good. He's like, well, if you can come in looking good every day and everything, I don't care. So I come in, I'm wearing, you know, back to my old thing, bow ties, I got nice shirts on, whatever. So he tells me the people start asking him if I was the manager. So he ends up giving me a manager position. And I tell him in the process, I say, man, I don't want to be a manager of a hotel or a restaurant. I want to be a filmmaker. I'm here to be a filmmaker. So he said, look, Don Shula is the owner of this restaurant. Used to be the head coach of Miami Dolphins. It was called Shula's. He said he's the owner of this restaurant. They plan on opening up a Shula's in LA. He said, why not work for me? And then when they open that up, I'll get you a job as a manager out there. Now you already have a good paying job. You can follow your dreams out there. We'll support you in that way. I said, when is it going to be? He said, probably like a year and a half, maybe 2 years, maybe something. I'm like, okay, everything happens for a reason. All right, I'll do it. I'll work here. So I ended up working there, and sure enough, they opened up the Shula's 347, and perfectly timed was the restaurant was only open from 5 o'clock to 10 o'clock. So I had the whole day to go do what I wanted to do. So I go, give me an internship. So I'm doing that during the day, coming working during the night, making enough money as a manager there to afford an apartment downtown. I'm on the top floor of the building, overlooking the Raven Stadium, you know. And again, Omen's telling me, we're working for you, we're conspiring for you. I get the job, come out to LA, and I'm there, and I'm talking to this lady that was a manager of the restaurant that was in the hotel that I was going to be working at, where they were putting this 347. And she tells me, she was like, yeah, like they getting rid of a couple of us. I say, why? Because they're giving the job to you because, you know the position. So I tell him, I don't want to take nobody's job. I don't want to do that. That's not me. You know, I could train these people, you know, and then, you know, I could go find something else. He said, well, look, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to give you the job. I mean, you're going to come out, you're going to train the people, and I'm going to give you some money as like a severance. So then you can go off and do your own thing. And so I trained these people. He gave me a little severance. And then I went out and had was enough money to sustain me while I went out and, you know, did my other things. You know, so that was just the universe conspiring. So it's like I tell young people, it's like you gotta believe, and you gotta believe when it ain't going right. You gotta believe when things aren't going in your favor. That's the time to believe, not when everything is looking good and the sunshine is out and people are telling you the next one. You know, that anybody.
Yeah, but I think sometimes a lot of people miss that because I think if it was easy it would mean nothing. Right. I think it's the hardship.
It's the hardship.
When you're looking at it, you're just like especially like us from Haiti. Right. I mean, when I come here, they had nothing. Right. You know what I'm saying? I remember picking up clothes from the airport. Mm-hmm. You know, so it was not easy. When I come to Lake Charles, I didn't even know what that place was. You know, somebody said they got a job here. I said, shit, sign me up. Mm-hmm. So now I was walking to work, you know, like I remember like carrying bags in my hands and stuff like that. But I always never stop believing because I just know, let me put the work in. Yeah, he might not happen right now, but if you stay consistent and then keep being disciplined, it's going to happen. I mean, it's not going to be easy. Of course it's going to be hard. Of course there is time you're like, man, I got enough of this. I mean, I remember like my landlord, he'd be like, he used to believe in me so much. He's like, man, the time will come, man. I mean, I was like, man, I need it now. I mean, you keep talking like, you keep saying the time will come, and I want it now. I mean, the time was worth, you know what I'm saying? But when I'm looking at myself now, like from back then, it's just like, damn, we did it. You know what I mean? Like, I might not be like a billionaire or millionaire, but come from where I come from. This is big to me. You know what I'm saying?
Because Mike, I gotta say, man, out of all the guests we've had, your story is like the most inspiring. Because like when you hear the up, the down, like when you hear the good, the bad, and the ugly. And usually the ugly is kind of like not easy for people to admit to or open up about it. And then I hear your story, and then I've heard, man, I met Jimmy Fox, but before that, I was sleeping in a van. But it is truly inspiring because a lot of time, the fear most people have had, like especially even within myself, when we want to actually want to go into something, but the fear of failure scares you so much. It's kind of like you got the "I told you so."
I told you so, right?
That
exactly
scares you, but it gets to a point, as you said, you just follow your heart through. You're like, man, screw it, I'm going for it anyway. Yeah. Because I feel like within my heart, unless I do this, I'm not gonna be complete in life.
Exactly.
And then you went for it, and then you got to where you got. That's gotta be like something unbelievable. Like, I'm sure for you, whenever you stop by, you look back at it.
Hey, man.
It's kind of like, man, y'all can make a movie out of this.
Exactly. I remember the moment where I had that feeling like that, like, wow, this is unbelievable. Like this could be a movie. I did the first movie, Reservation, but before I did that movie, you know, I would go out a lot, you know, in Hollywood with one of my buddies, Brandon Hawkins, and his dad was a member of my fraternity, and he was like, "I'm too old to hang out with you." He said, "But my son, you know, y'all be like buddies." So he introduced us. We started hanging out. We would go out in Hollywood. And this one night we went out. Well, we were supposed to go out. He didn't come. I ended up going out by myself. You know, again, I'm doing my fly Kappa stuff. You know, I'm looking good. And they got this, you know, being a member of Kappa Psi, it gave me a level of confidence about myself, you know, first. And I never felt like I felt like I could move in any room. I could hang out with any group of people. It didn't matter how much money I had in my pocket or anything like that. But they had this limousine. And the door was open. And they had all of these bad women in it. I'm talking about, it was like 8 of them in there. So I'm looking in the car, and I'm like, you know, hey, wait, where y'all going? What y'all doing? So they was like, oh, look at his little bow tie. That's what I'm saying. Little bow tie. And she was like, oh, I'm just playing with you. You're very handsome. You're, you know, good looking guy. Come in the car. So I'm like, all right. So I get in this limousine, and it's 4 of them on this side, 2 of them right here, another one right there. And we're just chatting. We're just talking, and this door is open. And all of a sudden, all these flash bulbs start going off again. And this old white man comes and gets in the car. And I had a few drinks that night, you know, so I'm kind of a little sauced a little bit. And I'm looking at him, and I'm like, man, he says, who is this, ladies? He's like, oh, what's your name again? Mike. Oh, this is Michael. He's from Louisiana. Listen to his accent. Look at his bow tie. He's so cute, blah, 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 blah. So I'm just like, you know, kind of rolling my eyes. And so he's like, well, is he coming with us? And so it was like, you want to go with us? We're going to another party. You can come with us. Sure. So they closed the door. We're leaving. And I'm looking at this man, and finally I say, hold on. You Hugh Hefner? He's like, yes, I'm Hugh Hefner. And I'm like, so if you Hugh Hefner, y'all all Playboy bunnies, ain't y'all?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
They was like, yeah, we Playboy bunnies. And I'm like, wow. And so he's like, yeah, so what are you doing in LA? And I was like, well, I'm from Louisiana. You know, I got this dream. I want to be a filmmaker, you know, blah, 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 this and this and this, that. You know, I'm telling him my whole story. And he was like, you know what? I like you. And I think you're going to make it. I think you're going to, if you keep that attitude and you keep that thing about you, I think you're going to make it. He said, knocked on this window, boop, 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 boop. He said, hey, give me a card. Gives him a card. Give me a pen. Gets the pen. He said, when you make your first movie, you call this number right here. Hands it to me. He said, and we're gonna do a party for you at the Playboy Mansion.
Damn.
So I was like, really? He said, yeah, but not until you make your first movie. I mean, not no little home film. I'm talking about a real production where you got actors, you got people, you out there shooting it and everything. So I get the first deal. I put the first script together. I'm trying to get it together. I get this guy who is I can't remember, I don't know what basketball player it was that he was really good friends with, but he also was friends with Silk the Shocker and Master P and them. Mm-hmm. And so he says, you know, hey, I can get Silk to be a part of this movie, you know, and we can get a couple of NFL players and some basketball players and stuff to fund the film. How much do you think it's gonna cost? I said, about $78,000. Cool. I'll get the money. I'll be the producer. I'll get the money. You just do the production stuff and everything, and I'll get Silk to come on board. So I'm like, man, you don't get Silk to come on board. He calls Silk. Silk comes to the studio at the time, Sedona Studios we had, and we're sitting down at the table. He buys in. He said, look, what we gonna do for like promotion of this film? And everybody's like spitballing stuff. And I say, well, we could do a party at the Playboy Mansion. And it was like a record scratch. Everybody looked at me. Playboy Mansion? I said, yeah. Well, I know Hugh Hefner. And they were like, he knows Hugh Hefner. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Throwing his weight around.
Hugh Hefner, right? So I'm like, well, he gave me this card. I've been holding it in my wallet. He said, once I've done a film, you know, he'll throw a party for me at the Playboy Mansion. And he said, okay, call him. So literally right there, I dialed a number. Hey, I speak to Mr. Wolf. This is Michael McGowan. I say, hold on. He comes to the phone. He said, yeah, this is Mr. Wolf. I say, hey, Hugh Hefner had told me that if I done a movie, that, you know, we can have a party at the Playboy Mansion. And he said, well, let me see. He goes back. He calls this lady. And she's like, yeah, Michael. Yeah, I know Michael. Yeah, we can do the party. But the party is going to be $175,000 to do it. But yeah, you can definitely do it here. So I'm like, I ain't got no $175,000. So I look at Silk and I say, hey, they say it's going to be $175,000. He said, oh, no problem. Cool. He said, I got a jean company, do denim, that wants me to sponsor, that wants me to be one of their ambassadors and stuff. I'll call them. Maybe they may be interested in sponsoring the party. So he calls them. Do denim is like, for sure. We'll do it. We'll fund it. So Kerry Rhodes was playing it for Arizona Cardinals at the time. We called him. He was like, oh, yeah, I'll throw some money at it, too. If we need some money, I just want to be on the flyer. I want to be a host of the party. So we did a party called Fantasy Island at Playboy Mansion. And so one of the girls that was in the film, she at the time was seeing Jamie Foxx. She was dating him at the time. And so she brought him as her guest to the party. So he wants to meet me. He wants to meet the people putting this party on. He said, man, I heard that. So he looks at me. He looks around. He said, man, you got Khloe Kardashian over there. You got Ron Jeremy, porn star over there. You got, basketball players and football players all around here. And here you just this little guy from Louisiana, and you throwing a Playboy Mansion party. He said, I don't even think you know how big that is. He said, I don't even think you know. He said, because it ain't a lot of us that been able to do that, and they don't just give that out. So the fact that you're here and you're doing this, it says a lot. And once again, he said, you here because you're supposed to be here. you know, we had people calling us Lil Wayne. You know, I remember I get a call from Don Bishop. Y'all know who that is?
No.
Don Bishop, Magic Wand. Snoop Dogg. He called himself Snoop Dogg's uncle.
Okay.
The guy in the green suit with the big hat. So he called me. He said, "Hey nephew, I heard you got a party at the Playboy Mansion. I'm gonna need we trying to have a players ball up there. We're gonna need a couple of tickets from you. I'm gonna bring Ice-T. I'm gonna bring all my nephews up there." And I'm like, man, this Don Bishop like calling me because he wanted tickets to my party at the Playboy Mansion, you know. So it was like, you know, omens, stuff like that. It was always something that was letting me see that I was in the right place at the right time. And then it was also things that were showing me people where I was from, they wasn't ready to accept those things. I was still like the guy from Louisiana. So when everything was solidified for this party, I called all of my friends back home. Man, look, I got 75 tickets. All y'all gotta do is get out here, and we're gonna have a good time at the Playboy Mansion. 2 people came.
Damn.
2 people came. 2 of my frat brothers came. None of my other frat brothers came. And we got a Playboy bunny on our arms. Like, that's like part of Cap Alpha Psi. That was part of Cap Alpha Psi, you know, Playboy bunny. So I'm thinking, I got a party at Playboy Mansion. All my frat brothers is coming. Only 2 of them came. And I was hurt. And I called my frat brother Marquise, and I'm talking to him. And then I get off the phone and I'm talking to my frat brother Noir, and he tells me something, and it just kind of changed my whole thinking about keeping my dreams to myself, right? He says, "Man, don't nobody believe you out here, man. You talking about you done met Jamie Foxx, and you doing a movie with Silk the Shocker, and you doing a party at the Playboy Mansion. Dog, they laughing at you. Like, they in the barbershop, like laughing at you. Like, they don't even believe that." I said, but I am. But I am really doing these things. Like, I do really know these people. I really am doing these things.
I can relate to that feeling. Trust
you know?
me, I can.
And it just made me be like, you know what? Just keep it to yourself. Just keep it to yourself. Like, why are you telling these people this stuff anyway? You know?
I don't think it's not because sometimes they don't believe you. I think sometimes it's based on jealousy. They just don't accept it.
But I gotta touch up on this. Like, when you say, like, when you're talking about your dream, what you've done, what you're aiming for, and so on and so forth, and then that's why I told you earlier I can relate to that. And I know what it feels like. Maybe not to the extent that you've done it, but to an extent I felt it. And whenever you got dreams, because dreams are not reality, they're fantasies.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And so therefore, whenever you just like you feel them so deep within your heart, and then you dare to express them, certain people that don't quite get that dream, low self-esteem people,
right?
Like, and I don't mean to be rude towards anybody, they're gonna be like, this guy's delusional. And
right.
one thing I've always said, people that knows me, and I'm like, if somebody tell me one day they're gonna grow wings and fly, it's not my job to tell them that's not gonna work.
Right. Exactly.
Because I don't know what they know.
Right.
I don't know what they're aiming for,
right.
and so on and so forth. And then so far, your story is extremely inspiring. It's because, like, people, in order for them to feel good about themselves, they got to point at your flaws.
They got to point at your flaws.
Either they point at your flaws, or whenever they don't see a flaw, they say, okay, he's lying.
He's lying, right.
Yeah,
So how dare he be right here, aiming from right here, and for me, I can only aim right here.
Right.
That don't make no sense.
Right.
So therefore, he got to be lying. What
right.
does he know that I don't know? And then the truth is, ain't nothing I know you don't know. I just dream higher.
Right. Exactly. I dream bigger.
Exactly. Yeah. I just dream bigger. It's kind of like I'm ready to fail 1,000 times to get to my dream. And,
right.
then that's kind of like what I kept asking you. You from out here, you dreamt of something that's not even
out here
relatable to anybody out here. You want to make movies. You from Lake Charles, Louisiana. You should just eat crawfish, work in the plants,
right.
do construction, and leave it at that.
Right.
And then you dare to just go so much higher than anybody else around you can even envision. So therefore, whenever you talk to people that's back home, they always feel
hard
like
for them to see that.
Exactly. It's like this guy's delusional. It's either he's delusional or he's lying. Because there's no way. That's old Mike. How dare you see Jamie Foxx?
Yeah, exactly.
Because you probably never can see Jamie Foxx because he ain't coming to Louisiana, Lake Charles, Louisiana.
Exactly.
But the man dare to go to LA and follow his dream. And then, like, as I was following your story, talking about I slept in a van, I had to go work at a restaurant and so on and so forth. And I don't think a lot of people understand the path to success, what it takes.
Right.
Because as long as you get that dream in your head, you can just live it in your head.
Yeah.
It's that power
to make it manifest it.
Exactly, and most people don't get that. And then so far, I'm glad that we got you here, Mike. And this whole thing ain't about me. I don't make no movie.
No,
this man does.
No, I mean, to touch up on that, it's just like sometimes too, like some people, let's say for instance, they grew up here in Lake Charles and they never go nowhere. So really, they never put themselves in a situation like you've been. You know what I'm saying? Just like me, come from Haiti, I had no choice, so I'm in a situation. Right. I got to make something out of it. So then, sometimes like me, I mean, growing up, bad situation. So I had to dream. So I had to sit down. That's all I have.
Right.
That was my coping mechanism.
Your dreams.
Man, like, watching TV, like, oh, one day I'm going to be right here. One day I'm going to do this. I'll go to sleep thinking about like, man, oh, I got no clothes, I got no shoes, but when I got money, I'm going to buy this. I'm going to look like this. I'm going to do all these things. It's best because I never really was in a situation to have them.
Right.
So then you start dreaming. Yeah, the dream is delusional. I never thought, even though I was dreaming, I couldn't never pinpoint to you, oh, this is who I'm gonna become.
Right.
I didn't even know. I work in the plane. I didn't know what the fuck that was before.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? I didn't know where the success was gonna come from.
Right.
But I just know I was just dreaming.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of people people fail on. They never like really dream. They never think of, oh, I can do it. And you stop. No, man, just like I'm gonna win $1 billion tomorrow.
Right.
It might never happen. What does it cost you?
Right.
I bet you drop some endorphin.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you drop some dopamine. You feel good. Ooh, I have money.
And to an extent, I don't want to make it seem like I'm attacking people from the area or whatever, because it's kind of very rare to find somebody who dare to dream, honestly. Because it's like for some reason everybody got this limit within their mind, and anybody dare to pass that limit, you either lying or you crazy. So therefore, and that I never understood that, because at the end of the day, that's what we got.
Because it says more about them than it says about you. I had to come to the realization, it's like a lot of times people point out things in you that they don't like about themselves.
Projection,
right? So it's like if you're outgoing, right? And they're like, man, he talked too much. It's like he's just so outgoing. It's like everything you got to be about him. It's like, it's just because they wish they were outgoing. They wish they were more of that, He thinks he looks good. It's like every time you walk around, he got his head all up and think he better than everybody or something. It's like, no, you really just wish that you had more confidence in yourself, and that's what you want. So it's like it's a projection type of thing, and I think that is it too, because it's easy to be around people when nobody's pushing you to do anything. It's easy to be in a barrel with people at the bottom. If nobody's trying to get to the top, it's easy. It's not till somebody tries to get out of the barrel that you realize that you're in the barrel.
Yeah.
Exactly. I don't think I could have said it any better. Because you got to think about it. We started this whole thing here. Me and him, we knew we had a dream and an idea. We kind of like, okay, let's do it. Let's go for it, right? And then, of course, we've met, or perhaps heard for some of the, who does God think he is? Shannon Sharp or something?
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of thing. Right. And it's kind of like, dude, who cares?
Yeah.
I'm going for this thing. Yeah. What do I got to lose? Okay, what's the worst that can actually happen?
Right.
The worst that can actually happen is I can end up being right back where I'm currently at.
Right, exactly.
Or I can just not try anything and stay
still
exactly
right
where I'm currently at.
Exactly.
But and it's just like it's kind of hard to relate to certain people. It's kind of like whenever you're talking to them, they translate to, oh, you think you're better than me. No, I'm not. No. I'm just saying I'm dreaming. So that's why I always said, if you say one day you're going to turn into Superman and fly, it's not my job to tell you it's not going to work. Because I don't know what you know. I don't know how driven you are. So hearing your story is extremely inspiring, because a lot of time whenever you're looking at something from afar, it always seems like it's either impossible or maybe this guy's doing some dirty stuff, like he sold his soul to the devil or something.
I had that too.
But whenever you got to hear the full story, and that's exactly, and whenever you got to hear the full story, and you realize, man, that's down to earth.
But sometimes they don't want to hear who your story is. They don't want to hear it.
Slept in a van. And
they don't want to hear that part.
But they gotta hear it.
But I'm just saying, because whatever they have in their mind, they don't want. They want to keep that.
But the thing
I see that all the time. People want that.
Look, even if you wanted to keep that stuff in your mind, it's impossible. or the man had to go over there and sell his soul to get it or whatever. But now you get the chance to look at the camera and hear the man's story. It's relatable. I got up in the morning, it was snowing, I didn't know what to do, I just put my boots on.
People was keen to work.
Exactly. So therefore, that seems like, oh, shoot. Clearly it wasn't magic. Nobody just handed nobody handed him anything. He literally had to go out there and do what he had to do and speak his dream into reality. And it genuinely gets on my nerves. Like, honestly, it really does. When somebody don't get what a dream is. Like, whenever you had like a good dream, how good it felt. And somebody said part of confidence is delusion, and I agree 100%.
Oh, definitely.
You're living it within your mind. It's not reality, but that delusion feels so good to where it drives you towards making that dream into reality.
Yeah.
And like I said, Mike, the floor, man, I feel like I'm talking too much because your story is a whole lot better than anything I got to say. But the next question I got for you is, when you were going through all that, and I'm sure you had doubts, because that's part of the game, and then the doubts showed up to your doors. Too. I'm sure that morning when you woke up, it was snowing, you were like, what the fuck?
Yeah. For real.
But
yes.
What helped you? Because I'm like I said, they got a lot of
My
people.
mom.
So like, what I mean, I'm sure, like when I mean, like the mindset, the dream, the people, what helped you kind of get through it all? Like what helped you accumulate? It's kind of like you had to put the dream back together to keep on going. Because I'm sure in that morning, as cold as it was, that dream felt like, dude, I was tripping.
I honestly, man, you know, my mom died in 2022.
Sorry about that, man.
It was her, 100%, because she was. It's funny because my mom did not support me leaving and going to LA, but once she started seeing like the fruits of my labor, because my mom would keep everything. So I think the first time it was Lanyap magazine, and I was on the cover of Lanyap magazine. Yeah. And it was like seeing something in pictures or something, and it was a big picture of me. And it's funny because at the time I was probably about 30, 40 pounds heavier than I was, and my face was all fat, and I hate that picture. But my mom kept it. And then I was on the front page of the American Press, and we were shooting a movie, and it was like film director Michael McGowan, blah, 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 blah. And she kept that, and it was on the news, and she started seeing things, and people started talking to her about me in ways. And then, so one day she called me, and she was like, I just want to let you know, that I've been praying for you every day since you left. And she's saying, I'm not saying that like roundabout way. Like, I'm saying I'm praying for you every day and I pray for you like every other day. She said, no, I prayed for you at a specific time every day. And it wasn't just me. She said, she went on a list. She said, this person, that person, this person, that person. We got on the phone every day and we had our prayer list and we prayed for you every single day. And when she said that to me, everything just started like making sense, because it was just so many, a lot of these things that I'm telling you in this story, I literally would be like, I don't know how these things are happening. Like, it was just way different than everybody else. Even when I got the money to start my studio, it was just a guy I did a music video for, Ian Chitlaw, and his partner, and he was with this group called God's Gift. And I'm telling him about my dream. And then, because he's telling me about his dream, so I'm telling him about my dream. And I was like, man, if we had a studio, we could do all of this stuff ourselves in-house. We would have to spend all this money because I got this, I could do this, I could do that, that. And then his grandmother, I believe, passed away. And she left him like a bunch of money. And I had like saved up like $30,000, $40,000, something like that. And so he came to me and said, hey, so how much money like we need to like do the studio? And I was like, we probably need like $150,000, something like that. And he goes in his bag, he pulls out this envelope. He hands it to me. And I'm like, what's this? He said, open it up. And I open it up. It's just money in it. He said, let's go. Let's do it. And so that's how we started the studio. And I don't know how that came, but then when I talked to my mom, she was like, "Oh yeah, we prayed for people to come into your life that was gonna like sow into you. You know, we prayed for you to meet people that were gonna sow into you. We prayed for doors to be open for you. We prayed for weapons that were formed against you not to prosper. We prayed for all that every single day." And when my mom passed, that was probably like, these last 2 years probably been the worst 2 years of my life. And it's not in a way that I'm not achieving, but it's like my mojo that I had, it ain't the same mojo no more. It's like a little bit different. Like, it's not like things are just falling in front of me like they were before. And I know it's like that prayers that she was sending up, it's like it's not going up anymore like they were. And so what it made me realize is that I needed to get closer to the source. You know, I needed to start doing that. I needed to start speaking more and praying more and believing more. You know, not that I wasn't already, but I didn't have that extra. It was like I had my stuff going, because you just imagine if like you had 6 people praying for you every single day, like wishing good things into your life, what power that would give you. And when she passed away, that I felt that leave. I felt that, you know, go. And I just had to revamp and reposition myself and just, you know, believe harder, you know, and I had to just, you know, start praying a lot more myself and start, you know, speaking to God a lot more myself, you know.
And all right, I got my next question for you is like, when you're making a movie, how that goes? Like, I'm talking about like, it's just process. Like the whole process. I'm talking about like starting with the script, or how you come up with the script, or do you just like you look for a bunch of script, or you pick one? How does whole process go?
Well, I write all my own stuff.
Okay.
Like, so I don't look for scripts. I write my own scripts, and because that's what I went to school for, was to write scripts. So for me, it starts in my head with an idea, and it's funny. I tell people that, you know how they got the stenographer in the court?
Yeah.
It's just typing everything that she's hearing. So once I come up with an idea, it's like a seed that gets planted in my head. And then all of these people start coming to life. All the characters start coming. And then they start telling me their story, you know, and I'm just writing it down. Damn. Literally, I'm just writing it down. And literally, I'm laughing at them as I'm doing it. I know it sounds crazy.
I know it sounds crazy, but I mean, I can relate. And but finish up.
I'm writing it down, and I'm literally just writing it out. And literally, when it ends, it literally is on the last page. Like the end in my head, it'd be the end.
Damn.
And that's how I've written every single script. I just come up with an idea, and then I just start building it from there. But because my mentor was like, you need to learn and work in every job, and following my omens, I had work behind the scenes. So even though I was artist, I knew the business. I knew what it took. Like, I knew all the contracts that I would need, right?
Okay.
I knew like how to budget, you know, I knew how to create a budget.
So let me ask you this, just not to cut you off, but so let's say you got the script. Mm-hmm. So how you present, like if you wanted to, okay, this movie, how you know how much this movie gonna cost? And when you do know that, so where do you bring it if you don't have the money? Or do you pitch it to like people with money? How you get the fund and all of that?
All right, so I'm gonna give this trick away. I can't believe it.
Trick away.
Yeah, so to all the filmmakers out there, I'm giving y'all this one for free. So
you heard it here first.
So my mentor was like, everybody is not motivated by making money, right? And when we're making movies, it's the same thing. So he was like, instead of going and ask people for their money and saying that you're going to give them money back, which you can't quantify, you can't promise, you can't, because the movie is a finicky thing. I can make a movie, Paramount Pictures can make a movie, so Lionsgate can make a movie, and all 3 of them can flop. They spent $100 million. They spent $50 million. I spent $50,000, and all three of them can flop. They can make a $100 million movie. They can make a $50 million movie. I can make a $50,000 movie, and all three of them make money. It's on the audience, right? Mm-hmm. So Paramount doesn't have like a magic thing that they do that make their movies make money. They lose on more movies than they make on movies. They might have 2 or 3 movies a year that might make a whole lot of money, and then they have 6 or 7 or 8 of them that break even or fail or don't make money. So he was like, so when you go to look for money, don't go looking for money promising people returns. You're giving them an experience, right? So, for instance, let's say you a dentist and you're a single dentist, you're a single male, and you out there and you going out on dates and you going out with chicks and everything. I would come to you and say, hey man, I know you took your girlfriend to Cancun, you know, you took her out to dinner and everything, you know, and, you know, that might have got you laid, or that might have, you know, got, you know, she might like you because of that. But what if you take $3,000, become an associate producer on my film, I give you a chair with your name on the back, and then you can come up to set with your girlfriend, and then when you get there and I see her, I'm like, you want to be in a movie? Hey man, I could put her in a movie. You want to be in a movie? Hey, you know what? Send her the wardrobe and hair, and she like, what? I'm going to be in a movie? Yeah, I want to be in a movie. And then send her out the hair and makeup, and then we give her a little line and like, hey, so right here, you know, the lady walks up, and I want you to be behind her, and then you just hand her the menu and just say, can I take your order? And then, you know, cut, and then that's it, right? She gonna do it.
That's a good pitch.
And then after, you tell me how the night went.
Oh, you getting laid up.
You tell me how the night went, right? Or you're a dad, and you got a daughter, and she's talented, and she want to be an actress. And I'm like, look, man, check this out. You say your daughter talented. She want to be an actress. I could tell you film school or going acting school, it's going to cost you probably about $20,000 per year to go do that. She going to get all that training, and she's still not going to get a job because she's still going to have to go to auditions. She's still going to have to do all of that. It's not going to get her a job. The best way to learn is to do it. Mm-hmm. So give me $5,000, and I'll write her into this movie, and then we'll put her in a movie. And then after the movie, I'll give you some clips of her in the film. She puts it in her portfolio. She goes to Hollywood. She goes to these auditions. She got an IMDb credit already that they can go look at and see that she was in this movie, you know, co-starring with so-and-so. And she has experience where she's been on set before. People want to work with people who have experience.
Let me stop you right there, Mike. Let me stop you right there. And I don't mean to interrupt you. I feel like what you're saying is so good. And I've heard when people say the game is meant to be sold, not told. You're giving too much away, man.
I'm giving it away. This is the only one,
You're giving too much away. Because now I'm like, man, that's genius.
Yes, that's genius. That's a good
pitch. That is some genius stuff, though, seriously.
Right. So $5,000 from this person, $5,000 from that person. Now, I ain't promised them no money.
Yeah.
It's just the experience.
I mean, that experience is, shit. That's a great experience.
It is. It's genius, man. Yeah. You need to really, like I said, the game ain't meant to be sold, like they've told but sold, but still. Yeah. That is genius. Because when you think about it, it would work. Like you said, you got your girl.
And I got $5,000, I'd give them.
Hey, right now, if you got to act for me, like, report for me in the movie, I'm game. That's what I'm at.
Right. Exactly. And it's a lot of people.
See, that's legit, though. That's legit.
Know? And then you go to the businesses and be like, look, you know, you can be for 15 seconds, we can be eating at Dan's Diner, you know, and I can write into it that the spaghetti is the best spaghetti. Man, have you ever had the spaghetti? Like, it's the best spaghetti in the city. You know, like, I can write that into the film. Well, how much that's going to cost me? Give me $3,000. And we're going to come here, we're going to shoot. You know, Market Basket was in How to Love a Geek. We did a whole thing.
I saw that within the trailer. Yeah.
Right, we did a whole thing in Market Basket, and they were like, for a whole 3 or 4 minutes of the film, you just see Market Basket everywhere. That's valuable to them. Yeah, we'll give you $10,000 and we'll let you use the store for free. So next thing you know, once again, I got all these contracts from these people, 5,000 here, 10,000 there, 5,000 there. Next thing you know, I done pieced it all together. And then I'm always going to be the number one believer in my film. So I'm gonna have my skin in the game as well, to start it off. We got $20,000, we're trying to get to $70,000, right? And this is where I'm at. You telling people, I just got another 5, I just got another 10, they can do the math, they can add it up. So again, if you're a filmmaker and you go out and you're making a film, if you tell people that you're gonna give them a return, they're expecting a return. As soon as you don't give them that return, you'll never get money from them ever again.
I gotta ask you this, Mike. After the story you told me, I'm just hyped up. I'm like, man, I'm ready to get that, do whatever I got to be in the movie. But let's just say there's some people that might be interested in that, like a short port for quick, 1,000, 2,000. I'm gonna be in the movie. I'm gonna be in the theater, and they're like, this guy is clearly the big deal. How would they be able to get in touch with you to make that happen?
Shoot. They can hit me up on Facebook, Instagram. I use those two. Or you can go to our website, Simpson and McGowan Studios, go down to contact, and you can send us a direct message through there, and just, tell me, to talk to me like I'm a regular person. A lot of people come in there, they want to pitch me ideas and they want to say things, but I don't take unsolicited ideas, because how do you know that I'm not thinking of a similar story? So once you tell me, man, I got this movie idea, I'm gonna stop you. I don't want to hear it. Not that I don't want to hear it, but I don't want you to tell me something that I'm already working on. Oh. And then you see it, and you're like, he stole my idea.
I got you.
And that is why, studios don't take scripts, unsolicited scripts, because if you send them a script, I can guarantee you it's going in the trash. It's not getting read. Nobody is reading your script.
So how they get the script then?
You got to get an agent.
Oh.
You got to get an agent.
Another question I got to touch up on is kind of away from the movie, and I saw that thing you got going on for your app, Frame.
Frame. I wanted to bring that
up on that. What is that all about? What inspired it, and so on and so forth.
So, Frame is man, that's a whole thing. That's a whole nother podcast.
Touch up on it a little bit, and you can come back after for sure. Because I'm trying to
Frame
be in the movie.
started in. Frame was an idea that I had called Medici Vision, and it was an app back in 2007, 2009. I came up with this app where I was working at Paramount Studios, and we would literally get phone calls from people asking us about something that they saw in a movie. Literally, they would find out who made the movie, and they would call us and be like, hey, I'm so-and-so, and they had this shirt that I saw in the movie. Where can I get it from? Man, how do we know? That's wardrobe. We don't know that. We don't keep track of that kind of stuff. But we would get so many of these calls to where I was like, man, it would be cool if people could just watch a film, and as they're watching it, just click on something and be able to purchase a product. I like that shirt. I like that hat. Just click on it and purchase it. So this was in 2009. So I hired these people, and I got a team of people, and we were building this app InVision. I had a prototype for it and everything. But I was so far ahead of my time that the engineering capabilities for it just wasn't there yet. It just wasn't there yet. And I had a bunch of meetings for funding and stuff, and there were holes in it, that back then we were still on broadband. That's when movies were pausing, and and we wasn't even really where we are now, streaming. And that was one of the things. It was like, but what about the buffering and all of that? People click off the film and before they even get to the product. What about that? So I shelved it. So then when all of these podcasts and platforms and all these things started coming, and one of the things that I was told was that content is king, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Content is king. So y'all need to make as many of these episodes of this podcast as y'all can. And then y'all put it online. It's going to live online forever. People are going to be watching these things until some meteor comes and hits the earth and destroys us all. But it'll always be out there. And you can pass it down to your children. You know, the licensing that you're getting from it, the money that you're earning, it's always going to be generating money online somewhere. You know, all it takes is some marketing. So content is king. But the people who own the content make all the money, right?
Yeah.
But the gatekeepers, they're not going to give you a deal. I don't know nobody, unless you're like a Will Smith or some big person, that can demand a deal where they're not getting screwed over, where they're actually making what they should be making. If you like rappers, singers, producers, people in this industry, they're not always getting what they should be due. You know, I don't understand why 1 million streams don't equal $1 million.
You're right.
Yeah,
Right?
Yeah.
You're
It's
right.
like, but for an artist, that might not even equal $10,000. You know, I had a video that went viral. It had 14 million views on it, and I think it was like the check was like $120 or something like that. It was just ridiculous how little we get. So I was like, you know what? I want to do something that is revolutionary, and I want to do it in Lake Charles. And what happened was, Waiter
Yeah, moving
Yeah,
around.
started here
In Lake Charles, yeah.
in Lake Charles. And that's what Lake Charles has the power to do. And that's why I say a lot of people are really not realizing how much we have here. You got to travel and start seeing. It's a lot of stuff we could do here in Lake Charles. A lot of big things that come out of here. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to make my own original content. And instead of giving it to, and I'm not going to say like what the documentary made or any of my other things have made, but I mean, I didn't drive up here in a Bugatti. I didn't drive up here in a Bentley. You know, so that tell you there, you know, it made money, but, you know, it hundreds of thousands, not millions of dollars. But in order for it to make those monies, like deals had to be made, you know, that made that kind of money. Otherwise, they wouldn't even want this stuff. But they're not giving us that type of money. They're not giving us those type of deals. So I decided, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make original content about my place, about my city, starting with shows that I'm making. And then I'm going to get a distribution deal, a licensing deal, because I already had distribution. So I just called my distributor. And I was like, look, y'all distributing all of this content in other places. If I made a platform, could I get that content on my platform? And it was like, yeah. So we formulated a deal. And it was like, when you build your platform, then you make it on there. So what I wanted Frame to be was a place where my Envision could live, where people could buy products out of the content that they're watching. But it grew. It grew to, I decided to take our social media experiences and take it and put it all into one platform. So as you're watching a movie, you know how you watch a reel or something on Facebook or Instagram, and they'll have a funny clip from a movie, and then they'll pair it with something else, you know, and now make it, right? So what I said was like, you know, why not just make that all in one? Why not have it to where if I'm watching a movie and I see something funny and I want to share it with my people, why not just hit record that piece I want, hit it, edit it, hit share it straight to the social media platform that's built inside a Frame. And then when somebody is watching it, they can watch it, but there's a button on there that says Origin. So if you click Origin, it takes you to the movie side, and now it opens up exactly where you were watching it in the movie.
Yeah, that is genius. I'm gonna tell you why it's genius. Because what you just said right there, but like you see like a little movie short, like a little movie soundbite, however you may want to call it. And whenever I see those things, I'm like,
where did it come from?
And I gotta hit comment.
Yeah,
to see.
And then search and see
what's the name of the movie. I could have sworn to you like for the past 2 or 3 weeks, I probably done that like 5 times.
Yeah, me
so
too.
I'm checking what's the title of this movie. It looks interesting. And within that is extremely genius.
Yeah, and then what they'll do is they'll trick you.
Yeah.
Or they'll say that it's something or give you a link and be like, here's the link to the movie.
It's
you click
not
it
it.
and it's not there.
Exactly.
So I put that in there, and now you could comment on it. You can create friends and you can make reels. And I wanted to make it to where content creators like yourself, so you can even go on Frame, open up a creator's account, and on your creator's account, you can create, you can put a movie up there, you can put a series up there. So you could take your podcast, say like, hey, you know what? We want to turn this podcast into something that we can monetize. And then Lion Share is the creator side. So the creator side is called Lion Share. And the reason why it's called Lion Share is because we give you the lion's share of the money. Like outside of the expenses that it costs us to stream your stuff and put it out there to people, we give the creators the majority of it. We take the smaller part of it on content that creators create. So you can put your stuff on there, and we also looking for people. We're looking at the reels that people are creating. We're looking at the stuff that people are doing on social media. If we see somebody that we think like, hey, you know what? This person would be great if they had a TV show. Well, guess what? We make shows. We make content. We may reach out to you and say, hey, you know what? We like what you're doing. We got this idea, and we want to create this original show based around what you are doing, and create that, and it's all on Frame. But also, there'll be other TV shows that you see every day on other platforms, but then they'll have a bunch of original stuff. But so it's all built into one platform, so you can stay in this one platform.
Man, that's a good idea.
That is some genius stuff, and we don't want you to give all that detail away all at once, because right now you're holding the record for the longest podcast ever.
Oh yeah,
like trust me, like right now we're pushing close to 2 hours.
Oh
Look, trust me, it ain't good. I can go for another 2 hours.
Man,
I'm sure it's up to you, of course.
Yeah.
With all that geniusness you got going on or whatever, I'm sure you will be back. I mean, you're a busy man, that's for sure. So therefore, whenever you can find a gap within your calendar,
I'll definitely be
you
back.
can come back here and bless us with more stuff.
Oh, for
Because
sure.
I'm looking forward to being the next Tom Cruise or something.
Hey,
Man,
I'm all about helping.
I mean,
No,
I just got
seriously
that.
though, 'cause like,
Are you looking for a guy with a big old thick accent, Haitian accent? I'm your guy.
You never know. And you know what's beautiful about like an idea? And I was talking to somebody about that. And I'm like, the line between being a genius or a dumbass is so thin.
It's so thin.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's either what you do, if it works,
You're a genius.
Yes, yeah.
if it don't work, what the hell was he thinking?
Yeah, it's like Antonio Brown.
Exactly.
He was a genius a year ago. He filing for bankruptcy, and everybody like, oh my God.
And then that's why it's kind of like whenever I hear people like you who just got this familiar, started from nothing, and then you dare to dream so big. No, Diddy, that shit turned me on. No, really. No, seriously, like it genuinely do it, and like, especially because sometimes when you hear somebody that have the dream, you can relate. Especially for us, we can relate to that. Because usually a dream don't have no value unless it has the fame or the money behind it.
Exactly.
But as dreamers ourselves, we recognize your dream, and we appreciate that. So therefore, that's kind of like you got so much you got to offer, and we're already pushing like almost 2 hours.
Oh, no,
but we're definitely looking forward, like whenever you can find time within your calendar to come back, and then share some more of that knowledge.
For sure.
And then you can give me some acting tips or some shit
definitely,
like
man.
that. Because
everything happens for a reason, man.
But for sure, for sure.
I mean, you know, when Donnie, you know, actually say, you know, man, I got this producer, you know, I want to ask him to come to the show, you know. Now I was just like, I know me, I go look at your stuff, and I was looking at, because I'm just studying the editing. I'm like, man, you know, because they say you do all the editing. I'm looking at the body of work. I'm like, man, this is beautiful. You know, I'm just saying, like, I got chance to appreciate you know, in a sense, like, damn, I'm sorry that I'm nothing compared to, you know, with the editing world. And I'm seeing, like, you know, now even though when I'm watching TV, I'm looking at, damn, how they do that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I tend to, like, appreciate stuff, and I appreciate your work, man. You're doing a good job.
I gotta ask you this, Mike, because there's a lot of people that's not familiar with you, and actually until I got to meet you and talk with you, I didn't really know what you were all about. So let's just say if you had to relate your art, your work, to like a famous director or somebody, perhaps like when you've seen their work, you're like, man, I'm in love with that. That looked like something I could have done. Who would it be? Like, give me like a movie or something of that sort, to where people can have an idea what Mike is all about.
I would, honestly, if I'm being honest, I wouldn't say anybody as far as like what my stuff is like. But if I was to say my work ethic and where I'm trying to do, I would say like Tyler Perry. Like, even though we don't honestly, you know, I get what Tyler is doing over there, and I get why he's doing it the way that he's doing it. I understand that. I'm more an artist on the side. He's more of a businessman, you know, understand that. But the way that he's running his business, how he's going about it, that is probably more in line with how I'm going about, how I'm trying to do.
Okay, everybody knows Tyler Perry then, so therefore they're definitely gonna check your stuff out. That's for sure. Because I'm a big fan. Because I'm like, when after I saw that trailer, and like I'm gonna be honest with you, when I saw that trailer for How to Love a Geek, and I looked at it, and I guess pardon my ignorance, the fact that it was based in Lake Charles, I've never seen a movie based in Lake Charles, so therefore I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
What the heck is this? But after I got a chance to listen to your story, and I'm sure there's a lot of people who can get to watch this and listen to your story and be like, man, this dude seems dope. I gotta check him out. And then the beauty of starting from the bottom is the fact that people that are dreamers just like you and us and so on and so forth, they tend to back it up. Right. To where they be like, man, this dude in the bottom just like me. The man had a dream just like us. Right. So therefore, let's see what it's all about. And like you said, just like anything crazy, you probably be like, okay, that's not that much. I'm just trying to figure it out. And then it might get discovered and then it blows.
Exactly. You know, like in a sense too, like, you know, sometimes like I can relate. I can understand. Like sometimes people that goes through maybe not the same thing, but similar struggle or similar things. When you hear him start talking, you can't feel like, man, I've been there. Like,
You've been there.
Yeah, I understand what is going. I can see the vision. You got motivation from that. You just like, let's go. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that.
Because you're like, I've been down. I feel like I'm on that road. What you're saying. It makes the things that you're going through, it makes them make more sense. Yeah. You know, and a lot of people, like you said earlier, I've always been a transparent person. You know, I came from the bottom, you know, and I've never had a problem with telling, you know, my story or being honest about my struggles or what I've gone through because of that reason. Because you never know, like, who's going through something similar. You never know who's struggling with something. You know, I talk a lot about my parents being, you know, addicted to drugs, and you know, and a lot of people feel like they ain't gonna be able to make it because their parents wasn't ever able to make it. So when you see somebody who's like, wait, you came from that and you're here, it make them feel like they're able.
It's relatable.
It's relatable, yeah. You know, so I've always been open with that. Another thing I have too is I have an open door policy. You know. Nobody should feel like they're too big to be contacted or too big to be, you know, spoken to or don't have enough. And I get it. You know, a lot of successful people are busy, you know. Yeah. But I always make time for people who make time for me. I always say that, you know. It's like you could have called, it's 7-something billion people in this world. You could have reached out to anybody, you know, to be on this podcast. Or somebody calls you and like wants your advice. And there's so many other people they could have called to want your advice. But the fact that they called you, that should be important, you know? So I always try to make it my business and make it a habit to where if somebody inboxes me something, somebody calls me or asks me, hey, can you talk to this kid for me? I do it, you know, because I know how hard it is, you know, when you don't have somebody to help guide you, like you were saying earlier, just to give you that push, to give you the things that you need. You're just out here, just trying to do it willy-nilly. You know, I know a lot of kids out here, they want to be actors, they want to be singers, they want to be this, they want to be that, and they have no idea how to do it besides seeing what they see on TV. Yeah. And I'm telling them, what you see on TV is 100% fabricated. That's what it's supposed to be. It's nothing that you're seeing is real. Yeah. It's all fabricated. You edit, right? Yes. You're going to edit this show. It's a lot of stuff that you're going to cut out of this show. It's a lot of things that's not going to make the cut. Yeah. But people are watching it. They're going to think that that's all that was said. They're going to think that's all. They don't see the behind the scenes. They don't see the behind the scenes.
And then that's the thing about life. That's the thing about, like, whenever you're looking at something from afar, it looks so impossible, so magical. But whenever they get to listen to a story like yours, it really inspires a lot of people too. It's kind of like, okay, I get it. His daddy wasn't Brad Pitt. He figured it out. Right. You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of like that bring you that home feeling. I heard his story. I know what he went through. So therefore, let me go for my dream, my story. So therefore, maybe like one day if I'm sleeping in a van while it's cold, and I can be like, hey, I know somebody that went through the same thing.
Yeah.
And then he made it. So therefore, this is part of the process. I'm cool with it. Exactly, because I don't mess with the cold at all. Me.
Right.
I probably drive back to Louisiana.
I'm gonna tell you before we get off. Me living in Baltimore, Baltimore, man. Be more careful. That's all I can say about Baltimore. But Baltimore taught me so much about me, and what I wasn't ready for and what I didn't want to do. So Baltimore is not a place that I would go back to live again.
Is it like a rough place?
Yeah, it's a rough place. It really is. I remember a lot of things that happened in Baltimore that have never ever happened to me again, in Baltimore. Walking down the street and I was going to a nightclub and this guy just grabbed me by my shirt like this. And I'm like, what the hell? He was like, give me your money. And I'm like, I told him, I said, hey, you grabbed the wrong guy. I ain't got no money. He said, well, where you going then? I'm like, shoot, man, I'm just trying to go see what I can get into. Hopefully it's free because I ain't got no money. And so he laughed and let me go. And it's like, hey, man, don't be out here, you know what I'm saying, like, just butt naked like that, So he wanted to give me some advice, But that's the epitome of Baltimore.
I've never been there. Well, thank you. I'm not going there anytime soon. But
Mike, no, before we started like doing like in the last episode, we said we're gonna do kind of like a game show, asking you a few questions, and then the first thing that comes to your mind.
All right.
So if you had to eat one food for the rest of your life,
one food,
and pizza, one meal, if pizza is not one of it, what would it be?
Oh,
man, you can't take long. You gotta. It's a quick.
Oxtail.
Man, that's how you know this man done made it. But another question: favorite movie ever? You could watch 1,000 times without ever get tired of it.
I could watch Armageddon.
Oh, I love Armageddon. I love
like that.
What city you will live, and if you had to live in one city for the rest of your life, what city would be?
Bali, Indonesia.
This man done thought of all them things, man. And everything is be like such a perfect question. Because Bali is beautiful.
Yeah, Bali.
And favorite project you worked on?
Favorite project I worked on, probably How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. It taught me a lot. Just working behind the scenes on that project. My personal favorite project that I did myself right now was probably Coming Up From the Ashes. That meant a lot to me, to put that together and just how many people, I got so many phone calls and so many, just people calling me crying, just saying, thank you.
I was looking for my house, though.
Huh?
I was looking for my house.
I didn't come this far out.
I was looking for my house. I was looking for my house, but he wasn't in there. So it kind of questioned my heart.
Best lesson you learned within this industry?
Best lesson
that
I learned? Best lesson I learned is you got to have thick skin. You can't take everything personal. Art is subjective. It's in the eyes of the beholder. And that's why I said earlier, it's like, I don't care if you like my movie or not. That's not my goal. My goal comes from within. I got my own reasons to do it. You just get to experience it. Whether you like it or not, that's up to you. But a lot of artists have a hard time accepting when people don't like their art or don't like that. It's like you made it for them to have an opinion about. All the opinions can't be good. So the lesson I learned is that you got to have thick skin. You got to let stuff roll off your back and just keep going.
It's a skills, though. You have to develop that, though.
Huh?
I think it's a skills. You have to develop that.
Because a lot of people, whenever they hear something bad about their stuff, it's kind of like they take it in a negative way to it. Like, I'm not good enough or something like that.
Exactly.
But that's not the case. Because, look, me personally, the way I look at failure is, like I always tell everybody, before I push anything, trust me, I've done accepted failure 1,000 times.
Exactly.
So therefore, whenever you tell me about that failure or warn me about it,
I already thought about that.
I know that, man. Right. But guess what?
I'm
still work
doing
though.
It. Right.
It could work though. That failure you're talking about, I done accepted it. So therefore, if it comes to my door, trust me, I done got a whole bedroom fixed up for it.
Right.
And I got food for it and everything. So therefore, I'm cool. But what if success show up though? What if success shows up to my door though?
Exactly.
And that's why it's kind of like so beautiful to speak with people like you with such deep stories. But Mike, hey man, we really appreciate you stopping by. And trust me, you're definitely gonna come back here again. Like whenever you can make time within your schedule, Hey,
I will, man.
You can come back here and we got like talk about more movies, more projects, more dreams, more stories, and so on and so forth. I'm sure you got like about 1 million more stories in your bag.